Andy Johnson, Minnesota State University. This is part 2. We're looking at Maria Montessori. This is where it gets interesting. This is where we see her metaphysical paradigm upon which she based her educational skills, practices, and whatnot. But first, remember, she saw children, she saw education and nurturing the early child as growing children, kind of like you grow flowers in a garden. Montessori saw the child and all of humans as primarily a spiritual being, not a biological entity, but a spiritual entity seeking expression into the world. Seeking expression in the world. It is a spiritual being dipped in flesh like a peanut dipped in chocolate. We are not primarily physical beings with a little spirit inside. We are spiritual beings with a little flesh on the outside. There is a need to guide, to help this spiritual embryo grow. They need to be protected by the external environment, from the external environment, in order to grow. Trying to force children into our image or into a particular image is like playing God. Instead, we are to allow the spiritual unfolding of the child. Within each child is the key to his or her personality. So spiritual embryos need to grow. In order to grow, they need to have love or unconditional positive regard. They need to have an environment that is rich in nourishment, where everything is predisposed to welcome that child, not to harm the child. Parents must see that child is a spiritual being. This creates a much different set of responsibilities for adults as we interact with young children. She thought that children are the spiritual ideal. We must become like children, for such is the kingdom of heaven, for such is consciousness or spiritual consciousness. She felt the true self exists deep within the unconscious mind. The human spirit is profoundly hidden, does not show itself readily. The true self is the center of one's being or one soul. The real person, your real person, exists within in the unconscious mind. Now, early childhood, according to Montessori, is a time of intense psychic receptivity. That means the psyche perceives things oftentimes that adults can't. And as young children move through certain periods of development, they are particularly attuned to acquire certain skills or knowledge effortlessly. They learn language effortlessly. They learn to play effortlessly. They learn how to be social effortlessly when they go through certain periods. So, as growers of flowers, as parents and teachers, we must allow the child to emerge and to act within the world and upon the world. Create the conditions, not where the world interacts on the child, but the child interacts in harmony with the world. And she felt that the human personality is not formed so much by externals, but is informed and formed through its own effort as it interacts with the environment. We can arrange the environment, but true personality comes from within. The parents influence, but do not form the personality. We need to allow, thus, freedom to explore at all these stages. This is the end of part 2. We'll be looking at educating the spiritual embryo in the next part.